Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrived in Washington today for a series of meetings before his historic address to a joint session of Congress tomorrow. When he makes that speech, he will become the foreign leader who has spoken before the United States Congress more than any other international leader. Now, this visit comes at a precarious time for Israel, as its war against Hamas continues and tensions in the Red Sea have escalated amid continued Houthi attacks from Yemen. With President Biden now stepping aside as a presidential candidate and many in the legacy media now distracted by the ongoing presidential campaign, the eyes of the public have shifted significantly away from the Middle East and the increasing volatility of that region. Well, joining me now from Jerusalem to discuss this is CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell. Chris, welcome back to the program. It's always great to see you.
Tony, great to be with you again from here in Jerusalem.
So let's talk about the situation on the ground there, and it is increased in its volatility. You've got still the ongoing war with Hamas. It looks like war in the north with Hezbollah is imminent, and now you've got the Houthis. Give us an update.
Well, almost any direction you go, as you said, Tony, you can find enemies that want to destroy the Jewish state. In terms of the Houthis, last Friday night, there was a drone attack into the heart of Tel Aviv. One Israeli was killed, about 10 injured. And then Israel, for the first time, I think, of any nation, has really hit the Houthis significantly. They hit a major port, a strategic port in Yemen that was actually used by Iran to supply missiles and ammunition to the Houthis. They hit a fuel depot as well. The Houthis have been hitting traffic, global shipping, actually in the Red Sea for months, since about last November. Dozens of ships have been hit. And the global shipping, 30% of it goes to the Red Sea. So it's really a significant impact they've had on not only just Israel, but the global economy. There's been about 200 missiles, drones that have been fired by the Houthis against Israel. So Israel said it's finally time to respond. If you go to the north, on a daily basis, Tony, there's sometimes dozens of projectiles, drones, missiles shot by Hezbollah, many of them shot down by the Iron Dome anti-missile system. And right now you have literally tens of thousands of Israelis no longer living where they used to in their communities along the border. We were up there. There's about 40 or more communities that are basically uninhabited right now. They're desolate. And so that's a major concern. And then we find out that Iran has maybe a week or two to get enriched uranium to military grade. The Iran being the mastermind of all these proxy groups surrounding Israel that want to simply destroy the Jewish state.
So Chris Mitchell, my take on this is that as America is really distracted in a big way, our media is distracted, our political leaders are distracted to a large degree. This is both a time when Israel is vulnerable, but could also be a time of opportunity because they're not being scrutinized with every move that they make.
Yeah, that is possible. And some people think that could have to do with the North and whether or not a major war will break out there. And will Israel actually try to defeat this nemesis on their northern border, Hezbollah, which represents a far greater enemy than Hamas, maybe 10 times the military strength. It remains to be seen, and then maybe even possibly Iran. That would be one thing. I'm not sure that's going to happen. There are some people that are saying actually it might be better in the springtime for Israel to go to war with Hezbollah. One of the reasons is the political situation there in the United States, and looking to November and with a possible Trump administration that might be more, where that would be, I think it's pretty clear, more favorable than the Biden-Harris administration has been.
So, Chris Mitchell, let me ask you this question. Two audiences, really, that the Prime Minister has tomorrow when he speaks to the joint session of Congress. I mean, the joint session of Congress is really, they're just there. He's really speaking to the American people. He is speaking to those policymakers. He needs them on his side. But he also has the audience in Israel that's going to be watching. I think that's why the speech is in the afternoon, so that folks can watch it back in Israel. What does he need to say tomorrow?
Well, first of all, I think he says to the American people, and this is his first visit outside of Israel since October 7th, that really Israel is fighting for its survival. It is defeating Hamas in Gaza, but it's much bigger than Gaza. We've alluded to the Houthis, Hezbollah, Iran, all these proxies. It really is an existential battle for Israel, and I think he needs to make that case to the American people. In terms of the Israeli audience here, there are some people that didn't even want him to go. They said, especially with hostages, still in captivity, it's not the right time to go. But he did go with some of the hostage families, some of the rescue hostages as well. I think he needs to tell this audience here in Israel that that he can continue this alliance, historic alliance between Israel and America, because Israelis here know they need the backing of the United States, both militarily, diplomatically, politically. So I think he wants to keep that bridge and sort of say to the Israeli people, I'm the one that can help solidify this bridge, not only to this present administration, but hopefully in some people's minds over here anyway, if Trump gets elected. And I believe they may be meeting this coming Thursday.
So what is the prime minister's kind of political stability right now in Israel? Because I know we hear things in the U.S. press over here. How is his standing with the Israeli people?
Well, right now there's a series of protests that are almost on a weekly basis. They're very loud, they're very organized, but I don't think they necessarily represent all of Israel. They do get a lot of attention, but I think there's a more silent majority here in Israel that stand behind the goals, the war goals of the cabinet right now and of this coalition government. Many people may not like Netanyahu personally or politically, but I believe they feel like he's advancing the main war goals, which is to defeat Hamas, make sure it's never can govern Hamas again, and to get the hostages returned home.
All right, Chris Mitchell, we're up against the break. I want to thank you for joining us as always, and we continue to pray for Israel and for the Jewish people, and for you.
Amen. Thanks, Tony.